Thanks, Rob, and thanks everyone for being with us today. Before we really dive in, I just wanted to recognize what an important role local media plays in communicating with our fans, especially on a topic like this. So I know it's been a trying year for all of us. We understand you've had to adjust to even how you cover the team this year. So on behalf of our organization, thank you for your efforts, and we appreciate working beside you guys. We are excited to be sharing our return to stadium plan, which Rob called our responsible restart, which means we're hosting fans, limited in numbers, but hosting fans on Thursday night. So we're really excited. It's been a long several months, but it's exciting that it's finally here. And, throughout our organization has really tried to remain focused on the priorities that we set very early on, which is one, the health and safety of our players, our employees, and our fans. Two, ensuring that our football function has everything it needs, the resources, facilities, and environment to execute. And then lastly, ensuring our facilities, both our Berea practice facility and FirstEnergy Stadium, are safe and clean environments for, again, our players, employees, and fans to come to. So we've been really fortunate to work with some great partners this year. University Hospitals, everyone knows, is our medical partner. They've been right by our side the entire time. The NFL and their group of experts, Vocon and Populous, two architecture firms that have really helped us evaluate our facilities as we've looked for ways to incorporate appropriate measures to keep them safe. And then lastly, just local and state government and health officials who, again, have been there by our side as we work to develop a plan that we're confident, if executed properly and complied with, will create an environment that is as safe as possible for all participants, meaning players, officials, media, et cetera, and attendees, fans, employees, make that as safe as possible on Thursday night. So again, we're excited to be hosting fans, even in limited numbers. There's such an important element to the game day experience in creating a home field advantage. We were in Baltimore this past weekend and no fans. You definitely feel not having fans there. So it really is important, though, to reiterate that compliance is key. We have to execute as an organization, and our fans also have a responsibility and a role to play. And that's really to adhere to the requirements of the plan. Wear the mask, properly socially distance, don't come if exhibiting symptoms. And frankly, if you're not willing or able to comply with those plan elements, then they shouldn't attend on Thursday night. So our hope, honestly, is to control what we can control, execute really well, demonstrate a safe environment, and potentially grow the number of fans we can have at future games. So again, we're excited to share our plan with you. I'm going to turn it over to Greg Rush, our Vice President of Finance and Administration. He's going to share some plan details. Greg also, as part of his role, oversees FirstEnergy Stadium operations alongside Troy Brown, our Vice President of Stadium Operations. And Greg is our game day infection control officer, which is a role that the league requires all clubs to have to one, oversee the development of our stadium readiness plan, but also if there anything arises while we're executing, Greg will play lead on that. So Greg's definitely the most appropriate person to walk you through the plan today.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate everybody being here today. I'm just going to quickly go over our 7 key principles of the Responsible Restart Plan. Many of these, everybody probably saw these before in our previous press releases, but they're pretty simple. We'll go over them here real quickly. So first, social distancing and physical separation. So this is important, obviously everybody knows, but from ingress to egress, and we talk about our pod seating within the bowl. That's the easiest place to make sure that if you're sitting in the bowl watching the game, you're always going to be 6 foot away from anybody else in another pod in the bowl. Number 2, the requirement of face masks or face coverings. Dave already covered this. It's really important. It's not only just a city, a state mandate, but also an NFL and a team mandate. Number 3, health screenings. This is for all of our employees, both our partner employees and our Browns employees, and then also the fan health promise. Before any ticket holder accesses their tickets on mobile this year, they have to sign off on what's called a fan health promise. Number 4, robust cleaning and disinfecting. This is before, during, and after games. It really, you'll see a visible, noticeable presence of people out cleaning different areas, high touch points, bathrooms, concourses, etc. Really main focus on that. Number 5, extensive hygiene protocols, not only for staff and fans. So access to hand sanitizer, reminders to wash your hands before eating or drinking, and just keeping, good protocols in place for hygiene. Number 6, training, signage, and communication. So we're trying to do the best we can to just communicate not only to our fans, our partners, and those coming to the games, what they're going to be expecting. So this is the wayfinding as you come to the games, what gate to enter, what you'll see on your ticket directing to what gate, specific ideas and suggestions on gate times when you're supposed to come and enter the stadium. But this isn't only just for our fans, for our partners internally, so we can all speak the same language and communicate the same message. And then finally, accountability and flexibility or adaptability. We all play a key role in this. We're going to hold ourselves accountable. We have certain auditing we have to do internally. The NFL is going to be here, making sure we're following our plans and protocols. And then adapting to if any new health standards come out, whether it's state, locally, CDC, et cetera, our partners will adapt to those on a game-by-game basis. So if it's a 6,000 fans that we're expecting this game, or if we're lucky enough to increase that number, we'll be able to adapt our plan accordingly to keep everybody as safe as possible.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Dave and Greg. Very important details. With that, we're going to open it up to questions. Marla Ridnour, you have our first question.
Yeah, I don't know who wants to answer this, but hold on a minute. Oh, here we go. When the governor announced this to have 6,000 fans, he said this was a trial run. I was just wondering where things stand with, do you guys still have another variance in the works as far as getting more than 6,000, or where does that stand?
It's a good question, Marla. There's technically been one variance filed, and that was a variance that would essentially give us permission to, we feel really good about the plan we submitted, that there are controls in that plan that would allow for, if the building was fully open, 17 to 24% capacity, depending on how the tickets were distributed. For Thursday night, we will not be opening the upper bowl. So we'll be able to accommodate safely distanced fans between the lower bowl and the clubs. And it really is important to demonstrate that we execute as our plan says we will, to then have the next discussion. So no formal variance filed for beyond the first 2 games, but anticipate discussions, one, as the environment and cases continue to evolve, but also the new information we'll have from an execution standpoint to hopefully make the case to continue to have the building open to fans and hopefully to more fans.
So just to make sure I got it right, you want to see how this goes before you even petition the governor for anything else, I guess.
And I think he wants to see how it goes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Marla. We'll go to Dan Lobby for our next question.
Yeah. First of all, I'm just curious. What your reaction was when you got word that you were going to be allowed to have fans, and then, I know Dee and Jimmy had said they were hoping for 20%. So, was there any disappointment that it was only 6,000, or were you just kind of happy that you got the clearance to have fans at all?
Certainly excited that we're able to have fans, but I think it's okay to say we were disappointed that it wasn't quite what we were looking for, but also very understanding of all the data inputs that the governor has to consider and what we have to demonstrate as an organization. So hopefully that continues to evolve and we do achieve a higher capacity beyond the first 2 games.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We'll go to Daryl Ryder for our next question. I know we have some individuals who aren't necessarily on all of our calls. So as a reminder, if you do have a question, please hit the participants button and the official raise hand function. A blue check and hand will show up in your corner, and then we'll know that you have one. Daryl, your line is open.
This is for either one of you. Point of sale at the stadium, whether it's concessions or merchandise, et cetera. What steps have you guys taken there, or what alterations have you made to make that environment safe and comfortable for fans?
Greg, why don't you take that one?
Yep.
Maybe give a little bit of background on even the 3 sort of active states of an attendee, whether it's transitional versus transactional versus just kind of how we think about it.
Yeah, so to Dave's point, you have transitional spaces, which are places where people will be probably within 6 foot of each other. The transactional spaces, what you're asking about, Daryl, within our concession stands. We've added plexiglass on concession stands. The stanchions have been set up. You'll actually see stickers on the floor that just encourage everybody to stay 6 feet apart. One of the other things for this year is we are moving to a cashless environment at FirstEnergy Stadium, so we do not accept cash at any of the points of sale throughout the stadium. We actually have what's called cash to card machines throughout the stadium as well. So if you do come to the stadium, you weren't happen to be aware of us being a cashless environment, and we obviously encourage everybody out here to communicate that to our fans, that there are kiosks where you could actually go convert cash to a card that can be used in the stadium. It's like basically just a prepaid card, as well as outside the stadium. So, and then there is extensive cleaning around of all our concession stands. All condiments will no longer be in the pumps that you see throughout the stadiums for condiments. They'll be in prepackaged, and then the same for silverware. So silverware will all be prepackaged individually. In the suites areas as well, you'll see more prepackaged, not the old where, like in the press box, for instance, everybody will get like prepackaged meals versus in the old days where you'd go and get the popcorn, etc.
Thank you, Daryl. With that, we'll go to Scott Petrick.
Hey guys, I'm sure the challenges in doing this are, countless. But I'm wondering maybe the biggest one or two that you guys encountered, and then how you were able to kind of solve the problems to enable you to have any fans in the stands.
Rush,
God, I think
encounter any problems?
I think just for all of everything that we've dealt with COVID, it's just the kind of the unknown of what you're going to face. So, we built the plan to maximize how many attendees we think we could fit in the stadium socially distanced as safe as possible. To the question before about 6,000 fans, we'll handle 6,000 fans as safe as we can using the same plan. So it's very adaptable. I think that's the biggest challenge, Scott, is just being adaptive to what we're going to see as far as how many fans are allowed to come to our games, where they come. We built the plan so that we direct everybody to the 4 main gates generally. Everybody on this call probably knows that most of our fans in the past have come via the city and they come to the 2 south gates. So communication, which is why it's one of our 7 key principles, is very, very important so that everybody comes to the game knows all the changes they're going to see this year at the stadium.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. We'll go to Kevin Kleps for our next question.
Hey, guys. Hey, Jenks, I'm assuming with that limited inventory, the sales process went pretty quickly, but how did it go? I mean, were there any hiccups? And what's the communication to the fans? Have you told them that we're looking at maybe a few games each at max, or what have you told them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin. The sales process, all things considered, because we didn't really have a decision on what our capacity would be, it went relatively smoothly. So we gave fans an opportunity to opt out of their season tickets before we actually knew what our capacity would be. So, and roughly a bit more than 50% have opted out. So we've sold over 60,000 season tickets the last several years. So a pretty good number, but a pretty good number opted out as well. But when you think about having 6,000 fans to satisfy 30,000 plus fans, and even if you say over 2 games, that's 12,000 tickets, there's still a lot of discussions that have to be had with season ticket members. So we prioritize our season ticket members based on PSL status or seniority, combination of those 2 things, and then went out in waves and had direct conversations with our fans, sent them links where when their wave was up, they were able to sign on and buy. So unfortunately, it's really hard to accommodate every ticket demand with that type of limited inventory.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll go back to Daryl Ryder.
Hey, Dave, opening the stadium, just in general, obviously you're not going to have the revenue that you normally would during a normal NFL season. And I want to ask this as delicately as possible. I imagine that the team will lose in some fashion by opening the stadium. Could you just touch on why it was so important for you guys to get all of this in place so that you could at least have some of your fans in the building, regardless of the financial ramifications? Because I assume operating that stadium on a game day is a rather costly endeavor.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. I'd say first and foremost, our fans really do create a home field advantage, and our players have been outspoken about how they feed off of our fans. So that was a really important to just a game day experience for all participants. But to your point, although revenues will be impacted this year, safety is paramount. So we've committed to our same staffing levels as if there were 67,000 people in the building, even though we're not even opening the upper deck. But we're deploying all resources to ensure that, one, the elements of the plan are upheld, and we're creating as safe an experience as possible for everybody. So having fans there, we're really excited about it. Even if it's 6,000, we're really excited. So.
Thank you, Daryl. Scott Petrick, back to you.
Yeah, I know in the protocols, you guys really stress the wearing the face coverings. How do you plan to enforce that? I mean, is that going to be something that you guys are, not you particularly, but are patrolling the stadium, looking to see and making sure people are wearing their masks?
Greg, you want to take that?
Yeah, it's very important, Scott. Dave talked about it before, and we just can't emphasize enough. If you don't want to follow, wearing your face mask, don't come. We want people to move forward, show that we can do this together. We've talked to our ushers and our partners on how to enforce that, and it's you may get one warning towards it. It's very hard sometimes. You can take your face mask off when you're actively eating and drinking, is what the guidance said. But one thing, we actually have a prosecutor on site this year. I think we've mentioned that before, to help with things as for fines or so forth, the face mask or other incidents that we may hear at the stadium. So we're taking it very seriously, and that training is as such to our partners and our internal staff.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Dan Lobby, your line should be open.
Yeah, obviously, as you've said, it's a well thought out plan, but you haven't actually gotten to see it executed. Is there some benefit that, you're going to have this game Thursday night and then have, 10 days to kind of put your heads together and figure out what maybe needs to be done differently?
Yeah, I think there's definite benefits to the more we do this. So, we had the 2 scrimmages at the stadium that were open to a much more limited number of people. We opened Mafre Stadium to 1,500 fans last weekend for an MLS crew game, and you learn things. And then there's also, we're one of 6 teams that are open the facilities to fans across the league. So we'll best practice share with others. The biggest learning right now, I'd say, is ensuring that people uphold the elements of that plan from the moment they get to the stadium to the moment they leave. And even when the game's over and you're making your way out the building, you still have to have that mask on. You still have to do your best to socially distance. Like I was referring to earlier, we've got 3 types of active states when you're at the stadium. One is you're stationary and that you're sitting in your seat. And we have a very clear plan on how to distance everybody within the guidelines. 2 is transitional, when you're moving spaces and you're really not coming into contact with people, and maybe that 6-foot sort of gap is breached for a brief amount of time just to get from point A to point B. And then lastly, what Greg was talking more about is the transactional interaction. So that's kind of how we've been thinking about the plan and really what we're really focused on from a distancing perspective. But again, upholding all of the elements of the plan the entire time you're in the stadium is critical.